There we go. Oh, hi, Rachel.
Hi.
I'm glad you got connected.
Yeah.
Oh, we got quite the group. Hi, welcome.
Hi, Rachel. Hi, Christina.
Elizabeth, Kara, welcome.
Hi, Kara.
We're just going to be waiting a couple minutes while we let people jump on the call. So we'll probably start in like, I don't know, we'll say 3 to 5 minutes.
Has anybody been to an online reception before?
Never.
This is
I know.
groundbreaking again.
Does anyone have food that they're eating while we're at our reception? Any good food to share with us?
I have nothing.
Bummer.
I'm fasting, actually.
Pineapple?
Oh, fasting. Saba is
Yes.
fasting?
16 hour.
Oh man.
And Elizabeth, what did you show us?
Oh, it's pineapple.
Pineapple. That's fun. Nice exotic little treat for our virtual opening. I know, I wish we could have delivered cheese plates to all of our participants. That would have been fun.
Hey, cheese, you're fine. You're fine, no cheese here. No need for cheese.
No need for cheese.
No.
I feel like there's always a need.
There you go.
Kate. Hi, Kate.
Hi.
In a car.
The most mobile of us all.
Yeah.
The traveling reception. I'm doing my reception for my bouncing ball. So
I noticed you were bouncing.
Yeah, you
I
moved
didn't
with
know
your
if
arms.
you were just bouncing up and down on a regular chair. I thought that would be very unusual.
And you know, we had
Yeah.
that earthquake yesterday.
Yeah, that's right.
So it
Yeah,
could have been that.
an earthquake. I didn't know about this.
yeah.
Well, because you were on that ball.
I was on the ball.
Yeah, you wouldn't have felt it.
Yeah, my traveling, my stay-at-home workstation involves a yoga ball and one of those folding lunch tables. You know what I'm talking about? It works.
What is that artwork back of you?
I did that artwork behind me.
Are you you're at your house?
I'm at my apartment. Yeah, that's where I'm always at now, Rachel.
Okay.
I never leave except for our bike rides.
Right.
Yeah, great. So how many people do we have so far?
So we have about 13 people here. So there are still some more people who signed up who haven't showed up yet. But I'd say let's get started, and they can just join in. They can just join in when they come on. So I'm going to get started here. I'm just going to change our view. Great. So welcome, everyone. I'm so excited that we're having this virtual reception. It's an amazing way to see all your faces. We were really disappointed when we had to cancel the in-person art exhibits because of the coronavirus, and also thrilled to be able to show all this work online and to be able to see all the amazing work that you all have created. So I'm Jess Hyman. I'm the director of the Fair Housing Project, which is a program of CVOEO. And here today with Corrine Yonce, our Education and Outreach Coordinator. And this reception is intended to be as much like a real art reception as we can do. I hope you've all got something to snack on or to sip on, or if you're fasting, you're anticipating in another few hours having a nice little feast.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is hear from each of our artists and then open it up for questions. Please, if you're not speaking, if you can mute your microphone until you're ready to speak. It'll eliminate background noise, but please feel free to pipe in at any time with any comments or questions. So as I'm sure you all know, this exhibit was created for Fair Housing Month, and Fair Housing Month is celebrated each April to celebrate the passage of the Fair Housing Act in 1968 and to raise awareness about housing discrimination and to get us all thinking really creatively about inclusive communities. And so I'm going to pass it over to Corinne to talk a little bit about the connections between art and fair housing.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. So I'm in a unique position. I've worked with the Heart and Home exhibit for a couple years. I've shared my own work, and when I was doing AmeriCorps Vista for the Vermont Affordable Housing Coalition, I really enjoyed working with Margaret and Ted, formerly the director of the Fair Housing Project, for this exhibit. So I feel grateful now to be in a position to help organize it. It's a really fun place to be. And like housing and art, they don't have a really clear connection. Some might ask like why this is an important part of the Fair Housing Project. And from my own personal experience, the two have been closely linked for some time now. Some of you might already know me, know my work. I've worked with affordable housing residents for the past 4 years. And I did a project called Voices of Home, where I was interviewing residents in affordable housing and making artwork with them, and sometimes making artwork of them. And I think after those 4 years of working with the residents, I started to see, my entrance to housing was like kind of like a work role, and it didn't feel like there was a lot of crossover with art. But after 4 years of listening to these residents' stories, I started to understand just quite how housing policy was affecting my own life. And it's really taught me that using art as a way of exploring the ideas of housing policy, especially around fair housing. We're not always thinking about fair housing in our day-to-day lives. Art helps kind of tell that story. It tells the story from a very personal point of view, and especially right now, when we're all at home, we're all stuck in our homes, we are constantly encountering this idea of like what home means. So I think that this exhibit has even a more powerful impact than it has in the past, and I'm really excited to hear more from the other artists creating work around using art to explore the concept of home.
Thank you so much, Corinne. And Margaret, will you share a little bit about the connections between the Fair Housing Project and ONE Arts and also the T. Wood Gallery?
Yeah, I will. And I'm so happy to see everybody here. I'm disappointed that the shows aren't up and in person. And I hope that at some point we'll be able to put the art up somewhere where people are able to see it and actually go and see it physically. But I want to say thank you so much to Jess and Corinne for getting it online. It's amazing to have the website. And the website looks so good. And I've been really impressed with everybody's thoughtfulness and coming in and the statements that people have written about. But this must have been 5 years ago, where Ted and I were talking about the relationship between creativity and activism, and helping to get messages across, but because it's kind of in a way that really, maybe the idea of it being something that people are feeling, not necessarily trying to push something in kind of a like a propaganda way or something like that, but art where it really is expressing something from people's kind of inner being, and we somehow it came up where, you know, Ted is passionate about fair housing and also an artist, and we were talking about fair housing, and it came up out of a brainstorm to try to make a creative initiative where people would make artwork about what their communities meant to them and what the idea of home meant to them. And it just really was a couple conversations, I think, and we decided to do it. And since then we've done a different show every year, and every year the initiative has been taken kind of a different form, where sometimes we've had a couple shows, sometimes it's just been one show. We have the Old North End Art Center here in Burlington. That's a neighborhood community art center. And so we've always had it there every year. But then some years it's been at City Hall. This year it was also, I'm the director of T.W. Wood Gallery, which is a small American art museum, and we were hoping to host some of it there. And some artists only show with us once, and some artists have shown with us almost every year. And it's just been really exciting to watch this keep going on year after year. And so I'm really pleased that even though this isn't happening in physical locations, that we are doing this online, and that we're talking about it, and that we've got this website, and that the art is still there and we can see it. And I'm really looking forward to hearing all of the artists talk a little bit about their work too.
Great. Thank you so much, Margaret. It really has been amazing to see the diversity of art. And let's hear from our artists now. So what we'd like to do is ask each artist to speak for a few minutes on their pieces. And if you're not speaking, if you could mute your microphone, it'll help with the background noise. And so as each artist talks about your work, if you'd like me to show a piece of your work on the screen from the website, just give me a shout, let me know, and I'll pull it up so that we can look at it as you're talking. So let's hear from our artists. Why don't we start with Ted?
Ted, you gotta unmute. Classic.
You're going to have to keep me in line about mute and unmute there. I always forget which I am. Anyway, all right. Yeah, I was for a number of years the director of the Fair Housing Project, and one of the things that I looked forward to every year was the April Fair Housing Month, because, well, generally as a fair housing event and a period of recognition, but especially because we had the art aspect to it, which, you know, made it something that I felt more than if it were all just kind of on the cerebral side of things, not just the concepts of fair housing, but the feeling of fair housing that one can get as they express art or as they appreciate art that other people do. And, you know, a lot of, there have been a few things that I have produced that were more or less related to housing, houses, home, and by some extension, fair housing. most of the art I've done hasn't directly connected to fair housing, but I think that the way I think has to do with connecting things that on the face of it seem not to be connected. And I think that's kind of an aspect of what inclusive communities do, is you have people who seem to be in very different cultures or leading very different lives as individuals or whatever, but then you can begin to see connections between them, and you can begin to draw inspiration from those things. So maybe you could show my pieces, see if that works from the website. I have some here I can hold up too. This one, the change, where is the wealth that change can be made, was the most explicitly, one might say, propagandistic in the white hat sort of way, in a positive way, from my perspective, because it shows the concept of redlining, and on the right there's the people of color mostly, and with other lower income people who are in this area that has been historically defined as where they live relative to where people with more wealth accumulation and everything that goes with that, the political power, the economic power, whatever, living outside of that red-lined area. And a part of what fair housing is supposed to help us do is to break down those barriers and make it more inclusive, all of our communities. So you can scroll on down. On the left here is nothing whatsoever to do with fair housing per se, but it is this was made from a photograph that I took downtown one winter on Church Street. There was some event going on. You can see everybody's bundled up, but it kind of expresses, you know, these are all children, and these four individuals in this picture that are clearly in front, but they are, it was a pretty diverse event, both in terms of ages and cultures and colors and what have you. On the right is, this was made from or started as a photograph that I made when I was visiting my brother down in Athens, Georgia, and took a walk just a couple of blocks from his home, which is a kind of a, you know, middle class and parts kind of upper middle class area that's mostly inhabited by people who happen to be white. And then just a couple of blocks away, it happens all these houses were very neat, very well maintained, but they were what was called, you know, shotgun houses. They're very narrow homes that are kind of long, and you walk through the whole house to get from one room to another, basically. And I really appreciate that. And they were mostly occupied by African Americans, people who had actually grown up in Athens, although it's becoming a gentrified area. So there are some students living in some of those houses also. Anyway, I did, as I often do, started with a photograph of, you know, 1, 2, or 3 houses, whatever it was, and then totally turned it into an abstract piece of work that just represents like a community as based on housing that people are living in the community of all sorts. And that's that's, oh, right here is the other one I have is that's just in our house. It was actually just a kind of experimenting with my camera one day, and I took this picture, and then there were some objects that were kind of distracting in the background that I, photoshopped into sort of some weird thing back there under the coats. Boxes of junk, basically. Anyway, this just, to me, epitomizes my feeling about home and what it means to, be comfortable and live in a cozy, warm home, which is something we hope for everybody. So maybe I've said enough for now.
Thank you so much, Ted. And just a reminder for everyone, we'll do questions at the end after all the artists have spoken for a few minutes. So next, let's hear from Saba.
You gotta unmute yourself, Saba. We can't hear you yet. Saba, you're still muted. You guys press the microphone on the bottom.
Yeah. You hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's new for me. Everything is new for me. Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to see you. And it's good experience to enjoy to Fire Housing Month. My drawing, you could see that one I have. It's showing my culture and my history. It's different now, I think. When I came Vermont, my color different. It's more shining. Before it's dark. I don't know why. But you could see I added more color. Like I never used red in my life, but I use it now. That's more shining. But the same old housing and the same design I do, but it's different now. It's good experience to stay home. I use it all the time because I stay home with my kids, and I have a small studio in my home. That's why I don't have to leave. And yeah, I hope to see you next month. I think when that's gone, everything be better. And that's it. Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Saba.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let's hear from Megan Humphrey.
Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you so much for including me in this show. It was an honor, and it's great. And this is fun that we're trying a reception anyhow. I even took a shower. I put on a necklace, big steps, big steps. So I have lived in the Old North End in Burlington for over 40 years, which is a little bit shocking to me. And I often carry my camera around. So I have been recording photos for many years of everything. I think everything's interesting in the Old North End. In terms of housing, we're just sort of all squished together, and we're living on top of each other a little bit. There's not a lot of green space, but it's a remarkable, diverse community. There are stores and parks and artists and nonprofit organizations, and Battery Park is sort of on one edge of it, and then the Winooski River's on another edge. So it's just, to me, a very interesting community. So I had enough photos. Finally, I decided, after having thousands and thousands of them, I applied for a grant, which I did not get. And so a friend said, well, why don't you just do a Kickstarter for it? So I raised the money through Kickstarter, and Jess actually helped me hang the photos all through the one community center. I thought it was going to be 300 photos that I was hanging, little photos on clotheslines. Jess, could you please pull up one of the, it's a collage at this point. It was supposed to be, the photos were going to be strung all over the, if there had actually been a show. And so I thought it was going to be about 300 photos, and it turned out to be over 1,000. So they were hanging all over the community center. And I had 3 sets of the photos made so that at the reception that I had about a year ago, everybody could take whatever photos they liked. And then the other set was hanging throughout the building. And then I kept a 3rd set just of kind of the masters of all the photos I used. So, and it's really fun for me to go through the community center and have the photo missing. That means somebody liked it and they took it, and that's great. So I think that's pretty much it. And then actually Corinne also used some of the photos for, she ended up contacting me and used some of the photos for some of her artwork. So it's been really fun. But throughout all of the photos, you will recognize locations or people or events or something. So it's just, it feels like it has a fun community feel to it. I think that's it, and I'm happy to answer questions later too. So thank you all.
Great. Thank you, Megan. Let's see, next, let's hear from Pievy.
Hi, everybody. As you say, my name is Pievy. Hello, everyone. Like here in Vermont, call me Pievy. So I'm from Haiti. I moved here in April 2015. And when I got here, so I see it's like a nice community. So I start to paint. When I start to paint, I just do like basically things from Vermont. So when I saw that, I just say I should go back home, because when I was in Haiti, so I used to paint. Why I go to paint school, like, you know, I go to paint school to learn how to paint is because, like, you know, when I done with my college, I built a school in the mountain and the southern of Haiti. When I need to do projects with all the kids, I used to be a farmer because I learned agriculture in my country in Haiti. So, and Saturday, I just say, like, you know, all the teachers, I want to do like special stuff like with the kids. Like the special stuff I used to do with the kids is walk to the mountains, and I just say, oh, look at that. That's really nice. You can draw that kind of thing, and that could be great, and teach them how to draw stuff, and after back to the school building and have a meal together and start to paint. So I form like all my family, you know, I have a lot of artists in my family, like my uncle, like my big brothers, all used to be paints. Like we always have like competition, like, you know, how can do that? If you can do that, like, you know, what I'm going to give you. So when we say that, I just say, look at, this is me, what I'm going to do, because my parents in Haiti have hotels. I just tell them, this is what I'm going to do. All my pieces, I'm going to sell them in the reception of my parents' hotels, you know, and they, like, you know, my parents have like, you know, like hotels and the beach in Haiti. Like when tourists come and they always buy pieces, I just say, okay, you see that pieces, this is what we're going to do. When I sell them, like, you know, I'm going like to use it in my school and teach like that kids, like, you know, me, I can be able like to go to the, like, you know, to the capital, like offered like a really expensive art school. But like, you know, my family, we start like, you know, we have like a kind of like technical school, like, you know, in the town, like in the bottom of the mountains. And I just say like, we can pay teachers and to start like a kind of like art school there, like for all the kids in the mountain, and for they can calm down, like, you know, for they can start to paint too. Like, as you can see, all my work, like, you know, they have like a lot of kind of like, like, how can you say, style. I can, like, you know, if I can looking at you right now, like, you know, tomorrow morning, I just tell you I'm going to paint you, and tomorrow you will see I bring you a paintings of yourself, and I'm really, really, really good at making portrait too. That's what I do the most here too, like, you know, that people have that dogs, and I just take a look at that dogs, and they just tell me if I can do it. I just tell them, okay, I'm going to do it for you, and wait, and tomorrow I'm going to, if that why may I just make, like, you know, basically I quit art. And if that why I'm always tell to people, I don't, like, you know, I don't go like for art, and art go to find me, you know, why art come to find me. Because if I see that, I just say, okay, I'm going to do that. And I just do that. You can say I started right now. When I started right now, and I just say, okay, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. When I go to bed in my dream, like, you know, I saw, like, someone just called me, you know, I saw you tired. You start that, like, you know, this is like the easiest way, like, you know, come to do it. And I just come and, like, you know, I just like good inspiration thing. I start, I just get like the piece and canvas and just do it and do it. This is how I do art. Like, you know, it's just like I'm dreaming and I'm working. Like, you know, everything I'm doing, you can see like where, like, you know, that's like that's my private room. Like that I have like other room I share, like, you know, with my wife. Like you can see like my private room. You see all this, like that's a lady. I start that lady. I lost my vibe in that lady, but I still have a lot of stuff to do in that lady before it's done. You can see that's a kind of jungle. I love to paint that jungle. That's inspiration. I get that inspiration, like, you know, from my mountain in Haiti. Like that is different jungle. That jungle, like, you know, I get it like inspiration from Haiti. You can see that long legs farmers market. You can see that long leg farmers market, like, you know, in Haiti, you can see that long legs, only me and my brother can do that kind of style of long leg farmers market. So, and you can see that it's like another farmers market again. So I love to do that. If that's why you see all this there, like, you know, sometimes I just go to bed and I wake up, I just say, this is what I supposed to change in this, what I supposed to do. Like you can see that the capital of Haiti, that the life in Port-au-Prince, you see, like, you know, how people like, that's like every kid in Haiti, they love this kind of like, it's the kind of ice mixed with zero. We call it Frisco in Haiti. I love it. If that's why I paid it, like, you know, in downtown of Port-au-Prince. And that is like farmers market again. And like, you know, that is like a kind of thing. And it's like Tubado, like Esquimalt Tubado and downtown of Port-au-Prince. So that's all I have to say, you know, and thank you so much for having me, and thank you again.
Thank you so much, Pievy. And I love that we have your art as part of the exhibit online, and we got a personal tour to your home art gallery as well. So thank you so much.
Okay, you are so welcome.
Yeah, and so okay. Let's see. So next we have Holly. Holly, would you talk for a minute or two about your art? Oh, I'm not sure if Holly is still here.
I feel like I saw, like, I think she left. I'm not sure on the call.
Well, we can come back to her. Kate, is Kate Ruddle here? I think I saw her before. Excellent. Okay, Kate.
Hello. Hi there.
Hi, Kate.
Hi. So I just want to say hi to everybody. Thank you. This is great. I just think this is a great fit for my work. I'm excited to be in this show. for many years, I taught a class called Nomadic Structures in the Bay Area and the San Francisco Bay Area. And I thought a lot about housing in my work because the Bay Area is quite overpopulated and had a housing crisis that affected a lot of artists and a lot of my students and myself as well over many years. To the point really where a lot of my friends and artists have left the Bay Area, and I've left the Bay Area. I had the opportunity to purchase some land in Vermont and move back east. And this art piece that, I don't know if you want to pull it up, it'd be easier to talk about it with it pulled up. In 2016, yeah, that's great. At the end of 2016, I moved to Montpelier, Vermont, and we had bought this land and we were living in an apartment, and I really wanted to be on the land. We were planning to build a house. And so I was trying to think about how to get on the land. And I've been researching all sorts of alternative living situations like tiny houses and yurts. And some of these things work better in the Bay Area, like a yurt, in terms of like setting up infrastructure. And when I was researching yurts, actually they kind of are expensive. So I found this used RV and this seemed like the great solution. So my husband and I, we bought this RV, and if you see on the RV, you can see there's this like black band around the bottom. So what that is a skirt. So it's cold. So essentially what I did was I spent the first winter creating this fabric skirt to go around the base of it. And that insulated the RV, and that was pretty much the focus of my time over that first winter. But I had all these little scraps of fabric from all the tests that I did on the skirt as I was sewing it. The fabric's difficult to work with. It was really heavy because it was weatherproof, mildew-proof, waterproof. So I took these scraps and I made them into these little, almost like a log or a journal. Yeah, and so that's what this piece is. It spans, they're spaced out, and it spans quite a large wall. Yeah, and sort of like a diary or a journal, formal. And I was thinking about connection, and yeah, that's pretty much where that piece is at. So thank you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If I get cut out, it's because I don't have power for my computer. It's just running off battery, so I don't know how long it'll go. Hopefully I'll be here the whole time.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you.
Let's see, next up, Corinne.
I'm going to be pretty brief. I do have 2 different projects up on the website that you're welcome to go check out at your own time. But I do want to kind of, building off of what Megan said, one of the projects I shared was a mural I created with Burlington High School students at the Old North End Community Center, formerly St. Joseph's School. And I was working with a group of students, and they were really interested in making a visual piece that represented the full building. And St. Joseph's has probably like 6 different organizations that use it, from the Champlain Senior Center to AALV, the Family Room, which provides free childcare, Lots of different people coming in and out, like a really, really, really wide range of like age groups, cultures, origin countries, and it all right in the Old North End. The Hindu temple also operates outside of that space. So really, and from, you know, there's, as I said, there's a Champlain Senior Center, and there's also like childcare. So you see lots of babies and 2-year-olds running around. And so the high schoolers really wanted to a visual piece that both represented the people that were using this space, but also brought people together physically for the moment of making the space. And so we're walking around the Old North End Community Center, and what's all around us but the photographs that Megan had up. Megan and Jess had hung up on these like string with like clothesline clips, I feel like was how it was. They were like, well, we really like these photos. So we reached out to Megan, and we blew up the photos and very big and made them black and white. And then we kind of painted on the photos, and we created prints that surrounded the photos and interlocked the photos. So it was kind of this moment where people could make their own thing and put it on the wall permanently, and surrounded these photos that actually represented the people that were using this space. So it's just like a really neat Burlington moment, something that could only happen here in, I don't know, here in the Old North End. Yeah, this is the picture of so you can see the gloves, the barbershop picture, the musicians. These are all pictures from, not all of them, there's a couple pictures that the students found themselves. So like that the students are playing basketball, and they wanted sewing to be represented because there was a sewing class. And you can also see the construction was happening at the time. They're installing an air vent when we were making this piece. So like it's a real living piece, and all around it those little like weird flower things. Those are prints that we printed together with the senior center, with folks at ALV, with the children from the family room. We just had this really wild like printing party. And I'll make sure that my website's linked on, it's not yet, but it will be, and feel free to go look at, there's a bunch of really nice photographs of the event itself that would be fun checking out. That's all.
Great, thank you so much, Corinne. And let's see, did Holly come back? Oh wait, I see Holly is coming back in now. So, as Holly joins us, Holly, are you back? You're back.
My dog ran away.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're back, Holly. Can you tell us a little bit about your art?
Yeah. What can I say? Thank you so much for doing this. And like I said in somebody's weed whacking. Hold on. It's constant around here. It's even before the pandemic, I was really interested in, well, my heart goes out to people that don't have adequate housing, and always wondering how I can help. And this really brings together something that I do and that I can offer. And then with the pandemic, it just like really exacerbates the disparities of food and income and housing. And I'm sitting here in my nice little cozy place. I'm not talking about my art, but I'm really like trying to put out like how can I help with, well, hi Kara. I've seen Kara.
Hi, Holly.
Hi, Jen. Yeah, so for some reason, I've always, well, actually, many decades ago, when my grandmother died, I got like these boxes of these sepia photos with very staged people next to their houses, and so enamored with them, and still am. And the boxes have grown, and so I look at these things that are really simple, and I couldn't tell you why, but I just love kind of simplifying and making these images really simple and maybe even with a childlike quality. And anyway, whoop, oh, there you go. Mostly really honored to be part of this, and hope that.
I really like your work.
Who's that? Thank you.
Rachel Grossman. I really like your work. I was noticing it before I got on here. I really like your work a lot.
Oh, thank you. There's it's funny, it kind of surprises me because there's like a sweetness to it that I don't necessarily know where that comes from. I'm a kind of edgy person, so it's really like this sweetness refuge. But you know, I really want to be more involved in all different ways of giving to people who are who don't have enough right now. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Holly. So we have a couple other artists in our reception here. We have Christina Claremont, who submitted a piece for the community gallery, and we also have Jen Berger, who's going to be doing an art workshop next week connected to Fair Housing Month and the Heart and Home Initiative. First, Christina, did you want to say anything about your work?
Yeah. I'm not sure. Can you hear me, first of all? Okay. That's something, or maybe not. I don't know. I feel that my work was a little bit, first of all, I don't live in the North End, Old North End. I live in Williston. You know, I used to live in the Old North End for a little while, and then moved out here. But I remember the things that you talk about, and I do miss a lot of things about being in Burlington, and I don't miss some other ones. So there you go. But when I was thinking about making a selection for this particular purpose, and we were thinking about housing, and I was thinking along the lines of what it means to have a home, and what's home, and the definition of home to different people is different, and it means different things. And for me, you know, and it's interesting, earlier we were listening about Haiti, and I think that we all, if we're from somewhere else, we always have this, at least I do, I think I should just talk for myself. I have this feeling of being a little bit untethered. Is that the word? Like not attached completely to any one single place. And that's a factor of being displaced. In my case, you know, I didn't move here because I was fleeing anything other than my mom. Other than that, I came here voluntarily. I came here to, you know, to go to school and just see the world, and then I got very stuck. But the thing that was swirling around my head along the lines of the theme of housing was more about what is home and where is home. And for me, it's really nowhere anymore. Yes, I'm very fortunate. I have a nice house in here in the States, and but the idea of home, if I have to think of home, home is the place where I came from. That's home for me. It's the city where I came from. It's not a specific house or apartment. It's just the place where I grew up, and the all the people and the just the city itself. It's home. That's home for me. And I used to have a lot of dreams about interiors, about houses, about flying inside rooms and hovering near the ceiling. I used to have weird dreams about houses and homes when I first moved, and a lot of them were about places in I had known before. But when I put together this piece and I was thinking about all these things and they were just kind of like going around in my head like Vitamix. What came out was that this image that you see over here, that monument over there, is not a home, it's not a house, but it symbolizes the city because it's one of the old remaining gates to the city. It's called La Puerta de Alcalá, and it's one of the most famous monuments in Madrid because it was the main gate to the city for hundreds of years. And it still remains. It's there in its full splendor, and it's a beautiful. There are gardens all around. It's gorgeous. It's really beautiful. But to me, it was not just about the beauty itself of the building and the fact that it represented the city, at large, but in combination with the hand, there was something comforting about it because the gesture of holding something in the palm of your hand. I don't know. It seems like a very caring, a very delicate way of presenting something. Like you're extending it, as an offer or as an offering or something, and I don't know. It was just a combination of those ideas. I work with collage. Forgive me because when I work, there are things going all at once in my head. It's a picture of how collage works, and then the things that happen around me, which are outside of my control, I have to be vigilant for those as well, because sometimes they're better than what I have in my head. So so that's how I work, and it's a little bit of it's really hard to explain the process. But I thought about all those concepts and the concept of endurance as well, while we're going through all this debacle of the the COVID. And Madrid itself has been hit really hard. So I was thinking that a monument like that, if people look at it, and it's a link with the past, but it's also a link with the future because it gives you hope that things endure and remain, and they're there. And the same way I look at that door now, 500 years ago, somebody was looking at that door in the same way, and it's still there. So there's something comforting about reassuring, perhaps, about something that remains and doesn't change in the middle of everything that's swirling around and changing and going crazy right now, but that's static. So to me, that was it was helpful to think about it like that. There's something about it holding still where everything else is moving and changing in ways that we can't predict how it's going to end. There's something nice about it being still and being solid, and it's granite. it's solid, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. It was cities, large cities like Madrid are interesting entities. I think they have a gravitational pull of their own, and you know, we're not having the same problems here as they're having in New York City, obviously, or in Los Angeles, or in another big metropolis, because obviously people are not in that, you know, close contact, and there are other things at play. But anyway, I don't even know. I'm spiraling a little bit. I'm sorry. I've been inside since March 8th. Okay, so I haven't even been outdoors. I haven't even been to my garden. So sorry if I'm spiraling.
Well, thank you so much, Christina.
You're welcome. I do it 6 or 7 times a day. So sorry I had to be in public this time.
Good. Well, thank you so much to all of our artists. And we have actually we have a minute to hear from Jen Berger, who's going to be doing a workshop next week. Jen, are you still here?
I am. Hi, everybody. I just flipped through the grid to see who is here, and I was so happy to see faces that I haven't seen in a long time. It's been really refreshing to see faces in the last week. Just kind of feeling like a little bit more human again. So this is great. Yeah, so next Wednesday at 4 o'clock, I believe. Let me just double check. I have the link up here. Yeah, from 4:30 to 6. I'm going to be hosting a workshop online. And so it'll be looking at the aspects of home and fair housing. What does that mean? What does that happen? Like helping us kind of take a moment to just ground and reflect and share. You know, our relationship to home has changed so drastically in the last 51 days or however long it's been. Thanks to Corinne for the 50 days. She told me yesterday. I lost track. So just really thinking through and honing in on like what that means, and just having that, taking all of this away for a second, and then inviting people to come to the workshop with whatever materials they have. So it can be pencil and paper, it can be crayons, it can be food. People can go outside and make a sculpture with leaves. I'm also encouraging folks, if you just like, especially if you have kids and you've got toys around and you want to make a temporary sculpture and take a photo of it. So really, we're just going to have an opportunity to really have a focused time to create something, and then have a time to share that with each other, and really focusing in on home and housing and this particular moment in history.
Great, thank you so much, Jen. And we have a link in the chat to the workshop, to the registration for the workshop, and then there'll be more information online and on Facebook.
Thank you for doing that.
Of course, thank you for doing the workshop. Great, so we're coming to the close of our time. This went by really, really fast. I think if there's one thing we've learned with doing these Zoom events, is that they always go by faster than we think. But we do have time for some questions. If anyone would like to ask any questions of any of the artists, or make any comments or any thoughts that came to you while you were listening to the artists talk about their work, please jump right in.
I just want to say it's very interesting timing that here we are in the middle of COVID and it's all about home, which is where everybody has been stuck, unless you're some kind of an essential worker. But lots of us are, I work from home, but I've been at home even more. And so I'm sure that's true for lots of folks. So kind of interesting. And all of us, I think, are getting a deeper respect for having a home and what it means and everything. So kind of wild timing, but.
Yeah, I've just, I feel like this reception has an extra sense of power, especially as we talk about like housing transitions, be it if you're from Madrid or Haiti or the Old North End, or Kate talking about traveling from the West Coast, where the housing crunch was making it really tough to have a sustainable lifestyle there. It's just these stories have so much extra power of making home in new places and reconnecting with home in the place where you currently live, or maybe acknowledging that home is not where you are in this moment.
And you can't get home. That's the worst thing. Did everybody hear that?
When you can't get home, or you can get home?
You can. I can. I tried to get out, and I couldn't. I missed my window, and there were no flights. They told me they were going to have to put me in quarantine if I got there, so decided to stay.
Yeah, I'll just add, this is HeART, and it is really nice to see so many familiar faces, some that I haven't seen in a while, but it just is a particularly poignant moment. Folks may know we have about 1,600 individuals and families that were formerly homeless living in motels right now as a result of the pandemic. And I just wanted to point that out for folks who may not realize that. There's a lot of us working in affordable housing that are trying to figure out how those folks don't wind up going back to the shelters and back to their cars and the deer camps and the encampments all around Vermont. So it's an amazing moment, and thanks to Jess and Corinne and really and all the artists. This is amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with given the circumstances that you folks have risen to the occasion and done some really good work in putting together April Fair Housing Month and beyond. And I'm very happy to be a part of it. And it's fun and it's poignant and, you know, everything.
Thank you.
And we'll see Ella, we'll say happy birthday.
Oh.
We'll think about that.
I think we've got Margaret is facing it. So I think on that note, I think we will conclude our reception.
Before the dogs come over and the cats start scratching.
I wanted to show off my dog, but she wouldn't come over here.
My husband with no pants coming through. No, I'm just
I just wanted to quickly say, Saba, I know your work, and I just found out yesterday that we live across the street from each other, and I'd love to say hi in person when we can. I'm in the Purple House across the street from you, and I'd love to say hello.
That's so cool.
I like that, the home connection. It's perfect.
Yeah. And that's
it
really is all about the connections. And so
I'm wondering what's next. Is there something that's next?
What's next? I think what's next is what we
it's blood and then locust and then your firstborn. That's what's next.
Oh. Well, stay tuned for more art, more fair housing, news and information, and everyone stay strong and stay positive. And your creativity has really, it makes a difference. So being able to see how everyone is expressing yourselves, your visions of home, connect. It's been wonderful to really connect with all of you in this way. And there's a lot of hope and joy that comes from your art. And so I hope that can carry on as we transition out or very slowly out of this strange new world we're living in, and we adapt to it. And if we can adapt to it with the same level of creativity and joy and positivity and the desire to make positive change, I think we're going to be okay. So thank you all so much for being part of this. And we will talk to you and see you soon.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for sharing your work.
Hi, Mom.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.